Character subclasses help tell the story of your campaign world. If your barbarian walks the path of wild magic, evidently there are places suffused with roiling magic in your world that has granted your character this capricious gift. The subclasses presented in the Grim Hollow Player's Guide help to tell dark fantasy tales, where not every protagonist is necessarily a hero. My name is Ben Byrne, and these are the 6 5e warrior subclasses for Grim Hollow. The Path of the Fractured allows you to play the dual psychology of a character that is both highly sophisticated and utterly monstrous. At 3rd level, you choose an extra academic proficiency such as Arcana, History, Investigation, or Medicine, among other options. And you gain proficiency with one Artisan's Toolkit, and you learn an additional language, which can make you quite the scholar if paired with a background like the Sage. Yet when you choose to rage, your muscles bulge and your shape changes so dramatically that you are unrecognizable. Your might increases so that your unarmed strikes become a 1d8, and you can make a second unarmed strike as a bonus action on any turn that you've used the attack action to make one already. But note, this second unarmed attack also adds your strength modifier to the damage. This is not a traditional form of 2-weapon fighting, even though it's similar. At 6th level, you become resistant to all damage types while raging, except for psychic damage, making you a juggernaut capable of 3 attacks a turn. But when you wear your Mask of Civility outside of rage, you are resistant to psychic damage and only psychic damage instead. Path of the Fractured make for great cunning characters who disguise their true strength, ensuring their enemies will underestimate them. Your appearance when you transform could also be anything from a rippling Hulk to a snarling wolfman to something completely demonic. It's entirely up to you. Perhaps you want to roleplay somebody who is guilt-stricken by the monster living beneath their skin, barely contained or controllable, and yet the world sees their true face whenever you rage. Barbarians who walk the path of the primal spirit have a deep connection to the natural world, even more so than totem barbarians. At 3rd level, you gain a primal companion, which can take the form of your choosing. It could be a savage bear, a noble elk, or even a fantastical creature like a giant winged cat. You choose whether you want your companion to be a primal guardian or a primal striker. Guardians defend you and your allies, absorbing damage and ensuring that you can remain in the fight for longer. Or you could assign them to protect a squishier ally, such as the party's wizard. A primal striker tears shreds from your foes alongside you, possibly giving you or an ally advantage on an attack roll as the two of you harry your enemy together. Any primal companion only takes half damage during your rage as well, so you shouldn't be afraid of getting them into the thick of the action. You command your primal companion using a bonus action on your turn, otherwise it simply takes the dodge action, but this functionally gives you a bonus action weapon attack each turn as the companion always acts immediately after you. It can also make its own opportunity attacks, helping to control the battlefield, and has better utility, providing the help action or seeking out aerial enemies as it needs be. Your barbarian who walks the path of the primal spirit may be a defender of the wilds, but you want to play a character who has an earthier feel to them than an Oath of Ancients paladin. I also really like the idea of playing a gnome or a halfling or a goblin primal spirit barbarian, which would allow you to ride into battle mounted on your companion's back, and could even give you a fly speed if your companion has one. Hey, do you enjoy the role of playing a tank? Do you hate to see your allies suffer damage and be in pain? Are you a Reinhardt main who likes to bellow, "Stand behind me, friends"? Then you want to play a Bulwark Warrior, an extremely hardy fighter subclass who is designed to focus enemy damage onto themselves to protect their allies. The Bulwark Warrior is also an extremely good alternative to the champion fighter in the way that it's easy to play without a particularly complex complex set of subclass features. But unlike the champion, the Bulwark Warrior provides the ability to control the battlefield and feel like you're contributing more than just damage during battle. Your third level ability, Protective Taunt, means that any creature you've hit with a melee weapon attack must attack you on their next turn if they're within 5 feet of you. If they choose to move away from you to break that 5-foot range, then you can make an opportunity attack, so that if you can't protect your allies, at least you can punish your enemies. Weather the Storm is also a third level ability, which provides you with continuous temporary hit points for a single combat. It's sort of like having second wind again. You get Living Shield at 7th level, allowing you to taunt enemies in a 30-foot radius into attacking only you, and for every enemy that this ability succeeds against, you also gain temporary hit points. At 15th level, whenever you use Second Wind, you also get a boost of temporary hit points as well as the healing that Second Wind provides. So, like any tank, you may need the support of a healer, but you also have ways to bolster yourself against the incoming damage. And most of these abilities don't stop you from attacking on your turn either, so you're still putting out regular amounts of fighter damage while being a shield to your allies. You're the sword and the shield, I suppose. You might play a Bulwark Warrior as an old, haggard knight who refuses to retire their sword and shield when evil is afoot. Or you might just want to show up and roll some dice without the bother of managing spells. Like the champion, the Bulwark Warrior is simple, fun, and effective. The Living Crucible is a fantastic fighter archetype alternative to the Battle Master. The Living Crucible has a variety of abilities to choose from and deploy on the battlefield, like a Battle Master chooses maneuvers or a wizard chooses spells. As a Living Crucible, you're able to push yourself beyond the bounds of your body's natural limits by consuming alchemical compounds that enhance your fighting prowess. Using these compounds, you might choose to bolster yourself with resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Or you might accelerate your agility to dash or disengage as a bonus action and get a boost to your initiative rolls. Maybe your enemy shrouds itself in magical darkness, so you imbibe a compound that gives you blind sight out to 30 feet. These compounds can also provide advantage to any type of ability check, allowing your fighter some level of utility outside of combat as well. You also gain proficiency with alchemist supplies and expertise in using alchemist supplies, allowing you to create potions that can help the rest of the party or make use of ingredients salvaged from monsters. Your compounds, however, are only for yourself and poison anyone else who consumes them, which at least means you've always got a steady supply of poison on hand if you need it. Your compounds can also poison you if overconsumed, but in a dire situation, you can push beyond your toxicity limit in exchange for levels of exhaustion. The Living Crucible is almost perfect if you want to play a Witcher, providing both a Witcher's martial skill and alchemically enhanced superhumanism as a feature of the class. You can then take feats like Magic Initiate to provide the low-level spell casting a Witcher is capable of, or a feat that provides more skilled proficiencies to feel like a knowledgeable expert. Of course, the Witcher isn't the only source of inspiration for the Living Crucible, however. Your character could be an alchemical inventor who experiments on themselves, a drug-enhanced warrior for hire, somewhat like a drunken monk, or a very grounded form of mystic in a dark fantasy campaign. In a world of gods and monsters, it is common for folk to turn to deities in hopes of salvation from the torment of evil beings. Monks of the Way of the Leaden Crown aim to change this. They are humanists who believe common folk should be free from worship or fear of extraplanar entities. Warriors from this monastic tradition hone their mind alongside their body, capable of telekinetic strikes and mental manipulation of physical space. Studying the Way of the Leaden Crown allows your character to make unarmed strikes within a 10-foot range that inflicts force damage instead of bludgeoning. You become capable of using your key points to cast spells such as Levitate, Hold Person, or Shatter, manipulating the battlefield entirely with your mind. I also really like the 11th level subclass feature called Psychic Crush, which enables you to mark an opponent with a pressure point each time you hit them with an unarmed strike. At any time during the battle, you can then use a single key point as a bonus action to force a strength saving throw. The target creature takes 1d8 force damage for each pressure point previously inflicted, and then they are restrained. This ability is perfect for setting up against powerful planar foes like demons, aberrant horrors, dragons, and Jinn. Play a Monk of the Leaden Crown if you want a character with a less spiritual and more pragmatic outlook. Your character may be aloof and very sensible, or perhaps they're a compassionate humanitarian who hunts planar monsters to save their fellow commoners. Nothing is more important to you than yourself, which is why you're playing a Way of Pride monk. Adorned with jewelry and brightly colored clothes, monks of the Way of Pride ask the question, what if monk, but also bard? At 3rd level, you gain proficiency with one charisma-based skill of your choice, possibly turning your martial arts into a beautiful and graceful performance. What makes the Way of Pride monks more unique, however, is that they simply cannot abide disrespect or damage dealt to them by a foe. A lot of your abilities as a prideful monk trigger when you are below half your maximum hit points, bolstering you with temporary hit points and increasing your damage output by raising the strength of your martial arts die. In other words, the more offended you are, the harder you hit, and the harder you are to put down. At 11th level, you gain an ability to sort of just ignore going to 0 hit points, continuing to fight rather than becoming unconscious. You'll still need healing to avoid an untimely death, but it demonstrates your refusal to let anybody ever get the better of you. Way of Pride monks make for fantastic young nobles who have escaped the palace grounds to explore the wider world, but still expect to be treated as royalty. Speaking of character options, allow me to introduce you to the Ethereal Expanse, Ghostfire Gaming's high fantasy setting, which is currently at Kickstarter. The Ethereal Expanse is a kind of world between worlds, an ocean made of glittering starlight with portals to other worlds opening onto it. The Ethereal Expanse setting guide includes so many new character options for creating characters from the Expanse, but also from any other world that might open onto it, including Grimhollow. It uses Ghostfire's heritage system for character creation, meaning that you get to pick your traits freely and craft your own character that could be from anywhere throughout the multiverse. Check out a link up here or down in the description to check out the Kickstarter. Do it. Those were the warrior subclasses in Grimhollow the Player's Guide. If you want me to break down the expert, priest, or arcane subclasses next, leave a comment below and like this video. You can also check the link below if you want to get your hands on a copy of the Grimhollow Player's Guide. It includes subclasses for all 12 base 5e classes, as well as so much more, including blasphemous spells and advanced weapons. You can learn more about what's inside the book by watching this video up here on the Arcane School of Sangromancy, the School of Blood Magic. Or check out this video to learn about how to salvage monster parts to make weapons and potions out of them in 5e.